Sri Sham Saran, President IIC, Honorable Trustees, Excellencies, distinguished, eminent guests, friends, supporters of WISCOMP, a very, very warm welcome to Our Voice, a unique multilogue on women, war, and peace. This evening's performance is a celebration of the 25-year journey of WISCOMP, and we are delighted and grateful that you are here with us this evening. As a South Asian peace-building initiative of the Foundation for Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Women in Security, Conflict Management, Peace, WISCOMP, has over the years provided an interface between academics, practitioners, policymakers, and young scholars on issues at the confluence of gender, security, and peace building. WISCOMP strives to enhance the role of women as peace builders, mediators, and negotiators, and to empower a new generation of men and women with the expertise and skills to engage in what is termed loosely peace activism, and to contribute to an inclusive, people-oriented discourse on security, which respects diversity and foregrounds the perspective of women and the hitherto marginalized, to build synergy between theory, practice, and policy, as well as between those in the formal structures of foreign policy and diplomacy and those engaged in grassroots peace building. Some of our buzzwords for us, the ideas, the leitmotifs that keeps us going are bridging the divide, building constituencies of peace, fostering cultures of peace, facilitating dialogue, building trust, nurturing diversity and coexistence, and of course, foregrounding women's leadership in peace and security, and the education sector. WISCOMP, as you know, does seek to nurture constituencies of peace through training and research and praxis in areas such as multi-track diplomacy and civil society dialogues, especially in zones of protracted conflict. And we work pretty much below the radar, so much of our work goes unnoticed, which is not a bad thing these days. 50 years of artist Geeta Chandran's dance journey and 25 years of WISCOMP fortuitously coincide with this confluence, depicting women's struggle for voice and agency against cultures of silence and cultures of impunity, to reclaim spaces and imprint them with resilience, with courage, with compassion, the ethics of care, and the ethics of community. You will notice in the performance that earth and water are recurring leitmotifs in this multi-logue. Definitely not just a dialogue, it's a multi-logue which involves everybody in this room and beyond. And if you recall the famous couplet of the poet Kabir, the saint poet Kabir, Mati kahe kumhar se, tu kya rondhe mohe, ek din aisa aayega, main rondhungi toye. Where the clay says to the potter, how will you trample on me? The day is not far when I will shape and contour you. I will encompass you as earth. And this is a metaphor that Geeta, in her performance today, has used, using the pot as symbolic of something that both contains as well as nurtures and also sometimes confines. Water also signifies resilience and receptivity in different cultures and philosophies, as we know, and it resonates very beautifully with WISCOMP's aphorism, where wisdom and compassion converge. We recall the evocative exhortation from the Tao of leadership today, where the paradox that the Tao suggests that the soft is strong. Water is fluid, soft and yielding, but water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid will overcome whatever is rigid and hard. The wise leader knows that yielding sometimes overcomes resistance and gentleness melts rigid defenses. The leader does not fight the force of the group's energy, but flows and yields sometimes and absorbs before it lets go. Paradoxically, therefore, soft is strong. Paradoxically, greatness also comes from knowing how to be, in some senses, empty of the self, receptive, and of service. Imagine that the life force is like water, is the river and in the sea. The sea, greater than the river, lies below, open and receptive. The busy, rushing river enters the sea, is absorbed, and is transformed. As we all know, women's protests take different forms. Welcome, Ambassador Ackerman. It's wonderful to have you in our midst. Please join us. Protest takes different forms. We are all familiar with Aristophanes' heroine, Lysistrata, who announced a sexual strike to enable the men of Athens and Sparta to make peace. And it was a resistance, a strong resistance against the Peloponnesian War. The second metaphor is that of Nangeli, whom many of us know about and some of us don't, about the Dalit woman from the state, hitherto princely state of Travancore, that resisted the breast tax, which was a caste-based tax, because women from the so-called lower castes were asked to bear their chest, especially when feudal lords passed. She cut off her breasts rather than surrender to the tax. Now that's a very dramatic and almost a chilling image. But I just did want to say that protest takes very many different forms, especially when women are standing up against structures of violence. So as I said, 25 years ago, Geeta Chandran and Anurupa Roy charted a new path in Indian performing arts by weaving a collaboration between Bharatanatyam and puppetry. And it was called Her Voice. And it was catalyzed by WISCOMP, and I would like to share with no modesty at all that it became a milestone memory that lingers even today. Now, 25 years later, Geeta has created Our Voice. While Her Voice depended on the mono-narrative of Draupadi, lamenting the futile nature of the Kurukshetra war and the futility of it all, Our Voice eschews any linear narrative. 25 years after Geeta Chandran's presentation of Her Voice for WISCOMP, she reimagines it today, as I said, as Our Voice. While the original work closely examined Draupadi's personal and political losses, this new work expands into a universal narrative, exploring the ongoing battles women face against patriarchal power, grappling with crises of identity, agency, and autonomy. These struggles, though contemporary in their manifestations, are deeply also anchored in the past. Echoes of the unending drudgery and the quiet endurance that have marked women's lives throughout history. As I said, Chandran evokes the metaphor of water to depict this complex reality. Women, like water, she feels, are fluid yet constrained, with potential power often unrealized. Their journey is one of ceaseless flow, striving to break free from the pitcher's confines, only to encounter new barriers that seek to dam their path. In this movement, the resilience and the vulnerability of women in the face of war and conflict lay bare, revealing the tension between the entrapment and their relentless pursuit of freedom. This presentation is at one level a lament on the futility and the dangers of violence, and at the same time it is a paean to the hope, the audacious hope for peace on our planet. So our voice in that sense becomes a terrain of lived experience, of endurance, of defiance, of the hope to reclaim identity amidst disarray. And through this performance dialogue, Chandran suggests that although an uncertain future beckons, as we see today across the globe, in the Middle East, in Ukraine, they salvage their fragmented selves from broken vessels to merge again with the ocean. Gita evocatively invites us to engage in many conversations with the self and with all, the micro and the macro, the particular and the universal. So celebrated as one of the leading figures in Indian classical dance today, Geeta Chandran is also a highly accomplished guru, scholar, choreographer, media personality, a Carnatic vocalist, and she harnesses all these energies as she endances the universe with Bharatanatyam. She's the founder-president of Natya Vriksha, New Delhi, which has been established in 91, and she has fostered art education, mentoring, and developing young artists. In October 24, Geeta will mark 50 years of engagement with Bharatanatyam since her Arangetram, or her stage debut in 1974. In her 5-decade career dedicated to this art, she has been honored with the Padma Shri, with the Central Natak Sangeet Academy Award, the Tagore National Fellowship, the Nritya Chudamani Award bestowed by Sri Krishna Ganasabha in Chennai, which, as you know, is a very, very difficult place, especially for people who are experimenting with new forms of expression. She has curated the prestigious Serendipity Arts Festival. She's curating it this year as well. And as for her, she has also been a scholar of peace at WISCOMP. And for our voice, credit is also due to the fabulous current team of the Natya Vriksha Dance Collective, who have nurtured Geeta's ideation to performance through a democratic process of participation and dissent, is what she says. Last but not least, I now would like to hand over the mic to the inimitable, to the one and only Rajiv Chandran. I don't know if he's here. Rajiv Chandran, as many of you know, is the wind beneath Geeta's wings and the animator par excellence of the Natya Vriksha, the dance collective. Rajiv brings decades of experience at the UN Information Center that he helmed to infuse creative spaces with ideas and the magic of music and the word. A dyed-in-the-wool feminist, his perspective on the performing arts has greatly enriched the Natya Vriksha repertoire, enabling it to stay ever relevant, ever vibrant, and ever contemporary. Steeped in an artistic sensibility that is both rare and profound, Rajiv's unerring eye for detail has ensured the coming together of the authentic with the aesthetic in co-creating this presentation, Our Voice.